Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's webinar. Super excited for you all to be on here, especially the new people, the guests that have been invited on to hear this information. This is stuff that absolutely transformed my life and my family's life 6.5 years ago. And we are very, very fortunate to have actually the person that I heard present this information first, Dr. Mark Gordon, on the webinar with us tonight. Now, Dr. Mark Gordon, he's a cardiologist from here in Sioux Falls. He was able to retire almost 2 years ago now because of what he heard and what he did with the information that he heard. And so that's really what I want to ask you guys to be open to, is just listen to the information and see where it fits in with your life. This is revolutionary technology, in my opinion, and I think it will absolutely help you with your health strategy going forward. So with that, I want to turn it over to one of my dear friends, Dr. Mark Gordon, Pro 9 in the company. He's absolutely changed tens of thousands of people's lives with the information that you're going to hear tonight. We've gotten to know Mark dearly over the last several years, and we get to do life with our friends in LifeVantage. So with that, I want to turn it over to you, Dr. Mark Gordon, and then I will jump back on towards the end and kind of update everybody on where we are as far as the business and why we're so excited about the future. So Dr. Mark, it's all yours.
Thank you, Sean. Unfortunately, I don't have my PowerPoint coming up here on this computer. I don't know if you've got yours there that has the ABC investigative report on it.
I do. You want me to start with that?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and start that, and then following that. So what Sean's going to show you here is the ABC investigative report. This aired back in 2005, and at that time, LifeVantage was really an unknown company. It was just a biotech company operating out of Denver, Colorado, and they didn't really know what they were doing. It's a bunch of scientists who had a great product but didn't know how to market it. So ABC came by to do a story, frankly, about Dr. McCord, kind of the gentleman behind, the scientist behind Protandim, and the story morphed into this story about Protandim because it was such an exciting product. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and show that ABC News investigative report, and then following that, I'll kind of pick up from there and kind of fill you in on what's happened since that time. So Sean, if you want to go ahead and play that, that would be great.
You want to get an edge on turning back the clock with just a few pills? Who doesn't? Well, it's no longer science fiction, but science possibility, a potential breakthrough. As I found out first, about it. Well, unravel the mystery of aging itself. And as decades of experiments, they have the potential of adding years to people's lives and possibly prevent chronic diseases like cancer, diabetes, and heart disease. It all centers around this small yellow pill, and for me, it begins with a blood test. They want to check my levels of something called T-bars, which is a rough indicator of a person's actual age. T-bars can identify a condition known as oxidative stress, a kind of measure of the wear and tear on our bodies. Oxidative stress, like the rusting of an engine, is not a good thing.
Bad for the body.
Leading to disease.
Leading to disease and leading to malfunction, and importantly, leading to what we call aging. It is a slow progression of increasing oxidative stress. That's the main characteristic biochemically of the aging process.
For a long time, scientists thought that antioxidant vitamins like C and E would lower it, but they don't.
And it's turned out in just the last 5 years or so, we see that they're not good enough tools. They're not powerful enough.
But this pill, he says, is powerful enough. In fact, many times more powerful. With that swallow, I've just become part of a potentially landmark scientific experiment. It's called Protandim, and tests on both mice and humans have already shown that it revs up the manufacture of those good enzymes in our bodies. More enzymes, fewer free radicals to harm us. Whether that will lead to longer life is still unknown.
Right now, all we know is that this preparation decreases oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is not a disease, just like aging is not in itself a disease, but it's something that accompanies and is attached to many disease processes. So you can see the age-related.
Normally, oxidative stress, measured by those T-bars, increases with age. But in Dr. McCord's tests, taking just one pill of Protandim a day reversed that trend for everyone at every age, even for an 80-year-old.
They all are reduced to the level of oxidative stress that one would expect, frankly, in a newborn or a very young child.
Back to the oxidative stress levels of a child? It sounds too good to be true. Will Protandim work on me?
The scientific evidence is there. The pieces seem to make sense. The question is, does this translate into something that humans can take advantage of?
So just what's in this seemingly incredible pill? Well, actually, its roots are very humble. Protandim is a combination of 5 plant ingredients. Some you may know: green tea or turmeric, a spice used in Indian cooking. Others, Withania somnifera and Silybum marianum, are more exotic.
There's a huge human experience with each of these ingredients. They've been used often in traditional medicine in India and China and many other cultures, in some cases centuries and centuries.
And so, ancient Eastern healing and modern Western medicine may soon be working together. High oxidative stress is associated with more than aging. It's been linked to hundreds of illnesses.
It's at the very center of many diseases: liver disease, diabetes, emphysema, asthma. I studied all of these: strokes, heart attacks, even mental disease. Yes, depression, Alzheimer's disease, depression.
We make no claims about curing any disease or preventing any disease. We hope that when enough studies are done, perhaps such claims might be able to be made in the future.
But what about my progress? After nearly 2 weeks now, it's time to get my results. Dr. McCord calculates the numbers. The result, my level of oxidative stress has declined dramatically.
45%, that's excellent.
Just look at where I fall on the graph, before and after.
Which, if extrapolated back, is the level you would see in a newborn baby.
Have we turned back the clock? Well, maybe not on the outside, but deep inside within my cells. Yes, indeed.
Would you suggest I keep taking this supplement?
I would.
All right, let me get Dr. Mark on. I know that a few of you had some problems with the audio right when that started, but I think that it did pick up. So let me get Mark here. Hey, Mark, if you can actually unshare your screen real quick, it'll allow me to unmute you. Awesome. That'll be quicker. There you go. You should be good to go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes. Yep. And we can see your screen now.
So back when that aired, as I said, the company was just a small biotech company in Colorado, and they didn't really know what they had, and well, they knew what they had, but they didn't know how to market it, because it was just a bunch of scientists who really didn't have any idea how to market a product like this. And so after at the time that the ABC News Investigative Report aired, they were selling it online and in retail stores, and it was not doing so well. It was selling about a half a bottle per store per month. It was marked $49.95, and it said proven to reduce free radical damage on the bottle. Well, nobody knew what that was, and so if you walk into a store and you see a product that's $49.95 and it says guaranteed or proven to reduce free radical damage, and you see vitamin E or vitamin C sitting next to it for $4.99, what are you going to do? You're going to pick the product that you know, that you've heard of, and so it was not selling very well. And so the ABC News Investigative Report aired, and in a very short period of time, they got orders for $5 million worth of product, but they couldn't fill the orders fast enough. They didn't have the manufacturing capability or the distribution capability. So most of those orders went unfilled, but because it's a publicly traded company, the stock went from around $1 a share to over $20 a share overnight. based on what people saw in that ABC News investigative report and what they believed that it could do in their bodies. So it was a big financial gain for them, but the problem was because they couldn't fill the orders over the next several months, the stock plummeted down to 7 cents a share, and they almost went out of business. So they hired a marketing consultant who came in. He took a look at what they had. He said, "Gentlemen, this is a product that has a story that has to be told. And you can't expect a bottle sitting on a store shelf in GNC to be able to tell the story, nor can you expect the clerk working in that store to be able to tell the story. They just don't have the knowledge to be able to spread that information." So he made the recommendation to move forward with, instead of the marketing technique that they were using, he recommended moving into direct sales or network marketing. And Dr. McCord and the board of directors didn't like that marketing model, and they said no. But after some convincing, they decided to do it. And long story short, they went from $3 million in sales in 2009, their last year in retail, to over $200 million in sales by 2014. And really the only thing that they did was they changed their marketing model. Because when you have a great product that does great things for people and you get passionate people out there sharing it with others, that's what moves the product. And that's exactly what happened with Protandim, is they got excited people to share that ABC News investigative report that does 90% of the heavy lifting. And then they had people talk to them about what was going on with this product, how it worked, and so forth. And that's what led to the leap of growth in the company. But what really attracted me to this company was the science behind Protandim. I'm not the type of guy who's going to sit around and schlep laundry soap or lipstick, okay? But what really attracted me to this was the science behind the product. Now, at the time that I got involved, which was October of 2010, I was working full-time as a cardiologist. I was not interested in another business opportunity. I had more on my plate than I could handle. But because of my interest in preventive medicine and the fact that I was in the process of doing a fellowship in anti-aging medicine, I was interested in learning more about this. So when Maria Williams had sent me the ABC News investigative report, after 3 weeks of hounding me to watch it, I finally did, to get her off my back. But I was intrigued. And when I watched that, the first thing I said to myself was, why haven't I heard of this before? Why was this something that was not taught to us in medical school? Why did I not learn about this NRF2 pathway? So I kind of felt silly being a physician that I didn't know anything about NRF2, but as I came to find out, there are not very many physicians in the country that have any clue what NRF2 is, and we'll get into that in a moment. But when I was doing my due diligence looking at pubmed.gov, which is the National Institutes of Health website for medical research, I found that Protandim had at that time 7 published peer-reviewed scientific studies. We're now up to 23. And they had studies on skin cancer, muscular dystrophy, multiple studies on cardiovascular disease. And because I was a cardiologist, that was obviously what attracted my attention the most. And as I was looking at these studies, there was one in particular that really caught my attention. And that was a study that was published in the journal Circulation, which is the journal of the American Heart Association. And when I saw that, that was all of the validation that I needed. I said, this is the real deal. This is something that I want to get for myself. I want to get it for my family. And I want to put it into the hands of as many people as I possibly can. So I ordered the biggest pack that they had available at the time so I could get as much product as I could, not because I was going to do the business, but rather I wanted to get this in the hands of some people that I knew had some significant health conditions to see if it would help them. And so the following day, I got a phone call from Maria Williams and Carrie Dickey welcoming me to the business. And I kind of said, I'm a cardiologist. I'm not really interested in the business. We'll see how this goes. 2 months later, I attended an event by the company, what's called an Elite Academy, which occurs quarterly. And it was at that point that I decided that this is something that we could do as a business. So we started working the business January of 2011. And December of 2015, I was able to retire as a cardiologist because of the income that we were making in this company as opposed to my cardiology business. So it's been a blessing from both a financial and a health perspective for us. But really, it was the science behind the product that really caught my attention. So Dr. McCord had won the Elliott Cresson Medal, which is an award that's given to inventors, people who find something that changes the way that we do life. And he won this award because he discovered an enzyme called superoxide dismutase back in 1969. He wrote his PhD thesis at Duke University on the discovery of that enzyme. And he was kind of on a quest to find something that would increase the body's production of this enzyme. He tried synthetic compounds, drugs, and he found that some of them worked but caused too many side effects and people couldn't take them. So he and some others started looking at plant compounds instead, and they stumbled upon after much research, they actually came upon the 5 ingredients that are in Protandim, which are green tea, turmeric, milk thistle, ashwagandha, and bacopa, and found that these 5 ingredients together caused a significant increase in the production of this SOD, this superoxide dismutase. But even at that time, when they first put Protandim together, they still did not know the mechanism through which it increased superoxide dismutase. They just knew that it did. And so that came a little bit later. We'll talk about that in a moment. But let's first talk about what it is that Protandim does. Protandim reduces this thing called oxidative stress. And oxidative stress can be defined as rusting of the body from the inside out. When we eat food, we burn that food as fuel, and we create energy in the form of ATP in our mitochondria. We also produce these waste products, or you can think of them as exhaust products, and these things are called free radicals. These free radicals are highly toxic molecules that will damage any part of the cell that they bump into. So the damage that is caused by the free radicals is the oxidative stress. And it's the cumulative effect of the oxidative stress over the years that we're alive that leads to all of the diseases associated with aging and the aging process itself. Now, when we're young, our bodies do a very effective job at fighting these free radicals and getting rid of them so that they don't do damage to our cells, because we have an intrinsic antioxidant defense system. Our own cells produce enzymes like SOD and catalase and glutathione that will neutralize those free radical molecules before they can do damage to our cells. The problem is, as we age, we start to produce progressively less and less of these protective enzymes. So we lose our protective mechanism, and thus we start to age. We start to show all of the signs of aging, all of the symptoms of aging, and we start to get all of the diseases associated with aging. So the aging process itself reduces our body's ability to fight these free radicals. Now, in addition to that, we are exposed to a very toxic environment that has many of these things that you see on this page that increase the body's production of free radicals, oxidative stress, and ultimately cellular aging, disease, and death. And so you can probably find something on this page that relates to you. For me, this was the big one, radiation. You know, I was a cardiologist. I worked in a cath lab just about every day in my practice, and I wore lead from my neck down to my knees, but my head was exposed, my arms were exposed, my legs were exposed, and I worried about that. I worried about the damage that that radiation was doing to my body every time I walked into the cath lab. Some of these other things may apply to other people. Maybe somebody's a farmer and they spray a bunch of pesticides on their crops. Maybe somebody drinks too much alcohol, or they smoke, or perhaps somebody is an excessive exerciser, or they don't get any exercise. Maybe you've had some traumatic injury to your body, and maybe you're on multiple drugs because of your health issues. All of these things can increase free radical production, oxidative stress that leads to all of these problems. Now, oxidative stress affects every organ system in the body, and you can go around this circle and you can probably find something that relates to you or a loved one. So all of these things, all of these diseases that come with age are related directly back to free radical damage and oxidative stress. So in the heart, hypertension, high blood pressure, myocardial infarction. In the skin, multiple problems, melanomas, photoaging, kidney failure, every type of arthritis that you can imagine. Asthma, emphysema, COPD, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, etc. Chronic inflammatory conditions like lupus and inflammatory bowel disease, multiple sclerosis, and the like. Endothelial dysfunction in the blood vessels, hypertension, stiff blood vessels, atherosclerosis, macular degeneration, retinal degeneration, cataracts, and so forth. So there is no organ system that is immune from the toxic effects of oxidative stress. And this is what leads to all of the diseases that none of us want to get as we age. So what Protandim does is it activates this protein called NRF2. So when you take in Protandim into your body, the cells in your body have these receptors that pick up the components of Protandim, and it activates this protein called NRF2. And NRF2 is a messenger protein. What it does is it goes from the cytoplasm of the cell into the nucleus where it acts as this switch where it turns on the genes that code for these antioxidant enzymes like the SOD, the catalase, the glutathione, and hundreds of others. And by doing so, it increases the production of these protective antioxidant enzymes, and it brings them back up to the level that you had when you were 20 years old. And that's essentially how Protandim works. Now, how is it different than every other antioxidant on the market? Well, you guys all know about vitamin E, vitamin C, beta carotene, and so forth. So one molecule of that will neutralize one free radical molecule, and then the process is over. So it's one and you're done. But Protandim is different. Protandim in and of itself is not an antioxidant. Rather, through biohacking and through activation of genes, through nutrigenomics, we are able to turn on the genes that produce these antioxidant enzymes. We turn on the antioxidant system in our body. And these enzymes, like SOD, for example, are significantly more potent than, say, vitamin E or vitamin C. And one molecule of SOD, for example, can neutralize up to 1 million free radical molecules before it gets used up. So instead of one to one, it's 1 to 1 million. And that's why this is so much more potent than every other antioxidant that you've ever heard of on the market. So when I was doing my due diligence, I said to myself, if this is such a big deal, there's got to be other people that are doing research on this. And indeed, there are multiple pharmaceutical companies that are now developing synthetic drugs that work through this pathway to reduce that oxidative stress related to all of these diseases that we talked about on this page here. So there are drug companies that are looking at just about all of these conditions and what effect reducing oxidative stress through NRF2 activation has on them. And this is a list of some of those companies and some of the universities that currently have patents on synthetic NRF2 activating compounds. Biogenetic had the first drug that was a NRF2 activator. It's called Tecfidera. It's a drug that's used to treat multiple sclerosis. It is a NRF2 activator. And that drug was found to cause a 50% reduction in relapse rates in MS. There is another drug called Radicava that came out just this past couple of months. It was a drug in in Japan that was initially used to treat traumatic brain injuries, and they found it had beneficial effects in ALS. It is also an NRF2 activator. So as more and more drug companies get on this NRF2 bandwagon, we have a very unique problem on our hands. We have the most potent NRF2 activator that's ever been studied. It's more potent than even the synthetic drugs that it's been studied against. But because Protandim is a supplement, a plant-based supplement and not a drug, we are not allowed by the FDA to make any disease-specific claims. That being said, I would encourage you to go to pubmed.gov, type in Protandim. You can pull up the 23 published peer-reviewed studies for yourself, and you can read what they say. It's truly amazing what we have our hands on here. So Washington State University wrote this article about 2 years ago now. That was a review of all of the diseases that have been looked at with regard to NRF2 activation and what happens when you activate NRF2 in these particular diseases. And I would encourage those of you that are science geeks to pull this article up, go look at it, read it for yourself. It's truly amazing because just about every disease that they looked at improved when they activated NRF2. And this is one of their concluding statements. NRF2 may well become the most extraordinary therapeutic and most extraordinary preventive breakthrough in the history of medicine. Guys, what we have our hands on here is truly incredible. And to think that we have it in an all-natural plant-based supplement just blows me away. Now, Oregon State University did a bunch of aging studies, and what they found was that NRF2 activation tended to cause the organisms, the animals that they were looking at, to not only live longer, but to stay healthier longer. And so they dubbed it the longevity assurance factor. And there's some great articles from Oregon State on aging and the anti-aging aspects of NRF2. So what we've been talking about to this point is Protandim NRF2. That was our flagship product. That was the one that the ABC News Investigative Report was done on. Here's the ingredients: ashwagandha, bacopa, milk thistle, turmeric, and green tea. It's not important that you remember what any of these do. They have their own individual actions, but this is what's important. And unfortunately, this slide didn't come out. I'm sorry. The individual ingredients did nothing essentially to activate this enzyme, this protein that turns on these antioxidant enzymes. But the 5 ingredients together caused an 18-fold or 1,800% increase in the activity. And that's where the power of Protandim is. It's in the synergistic effect of the 5 ingredients together. It's also what led to multiple patents on the product. So we don't have to worry about, you know, generic versions of this showing up on the shelves of Walmart or Target anytime soon. This isn't going to happen because these patents go into the 2030s, so we're good. Now, as I mentioned, I did an anti-aging fellowship, and one of the speakers talked about NRF2 at one of the talks. This was in April of 2014. He said, "This is the first time I've talked about NRF2, but you guys need to know about it." And I'll give you a little background on this gentleman. He's actually the chief science officer of a nutraceutical company that makes a product that claims to activate NRF2, and the compound that they're using is sulforaphane, which is the active ingredient in broccoli. Protandim has been compared to that product, or to that particular ingredient, sulforaphane, and is 6 to 7 times as potent at activating NRF2 as sulforaphane. So this gentleman stated that NRF2 is a revolution in science and is the most important anti-aging pathway in the human body. Now, I mentioned there were 23 published studies on Protandim, and this is one of the most recent ones, and this is probably one of the most impressive ones. This was the National Institute on Aging Longevity Study. The company had nothing to do with this study. The National Institutes of Health designed it, funded it, and ran the study. And in fact, for the first half of the study, they were underdosing the Protandim by 50%. But what they were looking for was to see if there were any drugs or supplements that could extend lifespan. Now, this was an animal study because you can't do longevity studies in humans. And if you think about it, it's because humans live too long. Who's going to write the research? And by then, there'll be something new, right? So yes, all longevity studies are animal studies. Well, they looked at some very good supplements: fish oil, curcumin, green tea, resveratrol, Protandim, and then they looked at some drugs. Protandim was the only supplement that extended lifespan. They thought metformin would, which is a diabetes drug. Metformin did not extend lifespan by itself, but when they combined it with an immunosuppressive drug called rapamycin, it did extend lifespan. But frankly, I'm not going to take a diabetes drug and an immunosuppressive drug to try to lengthen my lifespan and worry about dying of hypoglycemia or some infection. I think I'm going to stick to the Protandim. But what company wouldn't give their left arm to have a study done by the National Institutes of Health to state that their product is the only one that can extend lifespan? Guys, this is a study that does not get enough press, and we need to be shouting this from the rooftops. So we've been talking about NRF2 Protandim. The company came out with NRF1 Protandim about a year or so ago. Now, this does something different. NRF1 is a messenger protein like NRF2, but what NRF1 does is it doesn't increase the antioxidant enzymes like NRF2. Rather, it improves the function and the number of the mitochondria. And the mitochondria are the powerhouses of the cells. They're the ones that make the energy. And one of the key factors in anti-aging medicine is to improve mitochondrial function. And LifeVantage pioneered the concept of improving mitochondrial function through this NRF1 pathway. So we were really first to market with this concept. And it's incredible that we're staying at the forefront of this cellular anti-aging biohacking nutrigenomic mechanism. So I'm grateful that we're involved with this because this has helped numerous people with a variety of different conditions, and in particular in athletes, especially those that do endurance sports, because you need those mitochondria to continue to create the energy. Here's what's in the Protandim NRF1 product: rhodiola, CoQ10, grape extract, alpha-lipoic acid, and quercetin. And they found that the combination of these ingredients enhanced that NRF1 protein 160%. These are some diseases that are associated with poor mitochondrial function, but you don't have to have any of these diseases to have poor mitochondrial function. And just the aging process itself causes the function of the mitochondria to decline. And perhaps the only symptom that a person has from that is fatigue or lack of energy. So enhancing the function of the mitochondria is an important anti-aging strategy, and we have the mechanism to do that with this NRF1 product. So in addition to Protandim, we also have Axio, which is what I call a brain function beverage. It improves stamina, but it also improves concentration, thinking skills, mood, and so forth. And what I've noticed is when I'm using this, if I have tasks that I need to stay concentrating on, I can do so much better, stay focused, and complete the task in a much shorter period of time. In addition to that, it's a great pre-workout beverage that really helps to enhance your workout. Physique is our weight management system. With that, we have a protein shake, a fat burn, a cleanse, and a probiotic. And even if you're not trying to lose weight, I would encourage everybody to be on our probiotic, because our probiotic is second to none, because we have two unique components of that. We have something called Wellmune in it, which is an immune enhancer. It's been proven to help reduce the incidence of cold and flu and so forth. But we also have something called BioTract, which is a cellulose encasement of the organisms. One of the problems with most probiotics is most of the organisms are killed by the stomach acid. 95% of the organisms are killed by the stomach acid with most probiotics. The cellulose encasement that we have with this BioTract technology ensures that at minimum 60% of the organisms actually make it to the intestine where they're supposed to go. So we have the best delivery system on the market for a probiotic. We then have True Science, which is our anti-aging skincare system. It is based off of the same ingredients and the same technology that's in Protandim. Two of the earliest studies on Protandim were done at Louisiana State University on melanoma skin cancer. I would encourage you to go read those. They were fascinating. And the researchers said, you know, this NRF2 activation with Protandim had such a profound effect on the skin. You guys need to find a way to market this as a skincare system. So we came up with that. We've got a cleanser, a perfecting lotion, an eye serum, and then the anti-aging cream. And people have had dramatic results from these. You can get online, you can see the before and after pictures. This stuff is incredible. I use it myself. I've been using it ever since it came out. I never used to put anything on my skin, but this stuff has been incredible. There is another product, a dog product. It used to be called Canine Health. It is now called Pet Tandem. It's the same product as it was before, just with different labeling. It's basically Protandim for dogs. Dogs have higher levels of oxidative stress than humans. They age faster, but they develop a lot of the same health conditions that humans do as they age. And people were giving their dogs Protandim and seeing remarkable results in a short period of time, doing videos pre and post and seeing these amazing improvements. So the company capitalized on that by developing a pet product called Pet Tandem. And if you have a four-legged friend in your house, I would strongly encourage you to get them on this. I've got a 14-year-old hunting dog that's got terrible hips, and our veterinarian did x-rays recently and said, I can't believe your dog is still walking. I just took her on an hour and 15-minute walk before this webinar, and she did great the whole time. So this stuff is incredible. Get your dogs on it. So with that, I think I'm going to turn things over to my good friend, Mr. Sean Poe. He is certainly much more of the business expert on this than I am. I'm kind of the science geek. He's kind of the business guy. So we're going to let him take over and fill you in on the business part of this. Sean, we can't hear you.
There we go. All right, better?
Yes.
All right. What I was saying is just thank you, Mark, for being on. Your expertise is second to none, and you're not only one of the foremost leaders in our company on the science of this, you understand this technology and this science better than pretty much everybody in the world. So we are always grateful to hear from you on the science of this and why this is so unique and why it's so special. And the thing to me, Mark, is that once somebody's heard the science and they understand what we have our hands on, it's kind of just, it's a no-brainer that people are going to integrate these products into their health strategy. It's really more of a matter of how they're going to do it. And within this past year, we've bundled a few of the products, and we have kind of our baseline set of that probiotic, NRF1 and NRF2, called the Essentials Pack. And again, at a bare minimum, that is where I would start integrating these technologies into your body and your health, because we're making a shift as a society, and I think everybody can agree with this, is we're no longer looking for Western medicine to live in a reactive state of healthcare, right? We're looking more and more towards how can we be proactive with our lives, and it's not the miracle that the pills are, right? It's what they're getting the body to do and getting the body to work optimally and working the way that God designed it. Because when our body is working optimally, you know, it absolutely has a huge pharmacy that we can unlock, and that's the difference here. That's why we're the leader in nutrigenomics. That's why we're leading this biohacking revolution that's really changing the course of how medicine is looked at and how people are going to treat their health, and not only today, but deep into the future. So I'm super excited about where we're headed on that. And I want to show you guys a few slides. And I know that the business side is not for everybody, but I at least want you to have enough information tonight that you can kind of make that decision for yourself as far as where does it fit. Because I'll contend this, is that when you get ahead of the curve of something before the average person knows about it, it puts you in an incredible situation to have potential financial gain. And we're looking at, you know, at this early stage of NRF2 and LifeVantage and Protandim, we're looking for those early adopters, the innovators, the entrepreneurs, the people that want to get there first. And I can tell you this, I've been all over the world doing this business. I've been in Australia, the Philippines, Canada, Mexico, all over the United States. And there's not one market I've ever set foot in that the average person knows about what we have our hands on. And the reality is any business, I don't care what industry or service or product we're talking about, if it stays around long enough, it goes through this S-curve that you see on the screen today or right now. And you know, the fact of the matter is we don't have the average person knowing about this, but when something starts to become branded, when it catches momentum and the average person starts to learn about it, that's about when 80% of the growth of a company happens, okay? And Michelle and I, when we first started into this company, we didn't know the first thing about nutrigenomics or nutraceuticals or network marketing. The thing that we knew was that if other people had a proven system that worked and we followed their plan, we could get what they had. And just like Mark said, we did not initially get into this business to do the business. I was working full-time at Citigroup. I managed the defaulted student loan portfolio for them, all the collection and litigation efforts. I was barely home, let alone had time to do something else. My wife worked full-time. We had an online business, 2 little kids, a lady living with us from Spain. Our plates were completely full. But the cool thing is when we heard this information from Mark and we put our blind faith into it, saying, even if this is half as good as what he's saying, it's something we want in our body and we want to share with our friends and our families. So we got into the business just because we knew if we didn't even get off the starting line, we had just prepaid for product that we were already going to take. We weren't out any money. But the thing of it was the more people we shared that ABC Primetime video with, the more people that wanted to try the products, the more people that wanted to do the business. And the more people's bodies that we got these products into, the more anecdotal evidence we were getting back that it worked. And I love the story about, you know, Protandim and pets, because that's really where Pet Tandem or Canine Health came from. Was a lot of people were giving this to their pets here in South Dakota, and we had person after person after person coming back to us and telling us, I don't know what's in this, but my dog, you know, he couldn't even jump up into the truck anymore. I'd have to lift him up. Now he's jumping in and out of the truck and running around like a pup again. And we had person after person telling us these stories, and that information got back to the company, and that's when they decided to formulate a product based off the same technology, but really specialize it and make it more palatable for canines. And that's where that product got created. And in my mind, up to that point, there was kind of this question as to whether people were just having a placebo effect on these products, right? And to me, it didn't matter. If somebody was feeling better and they were living a better quality of life, I didn't care how it happened. But that was telling me when I saw it in animals happen, they didn't know if they were getting a treat or they were getting a Nerf2 activator, right? But their bodies, their physiology was changing, and that's what we kept seeing in people. And that really solidified the science in my mind and helped the financial guy, I guess, understand the science. So I'm telling you this information again, not because I'm trying to talk anybody into the business. I'm not at all. 80 to 85% of our business is customer based. And I love that for the simple fact that if you only see value in the products, Be a user of the products, okay? Be a consumer of the products. See what it does for you and give it a chance to work in your body. The stuff and the damage that happens doesn't happen overnight, so don't expect anything to be a miracle cure that's going to help anything overnight. Give it, a good 4 or 5 month period to see what it does in your body. And I think you're going to be blown away when you put that Essentials Activated Pack into your body, what it does. The probiotic, the NRF1, the NRF2. And the other products are absolutely amazing as well. And we use every single product at our house. Our kids do. Everybody that we come in contact, we're sharing this with. But here's the reality that I want you to think about on the business side. What if the information you got tonight is even half true? And you were positioned to have a business where you had exclusive rights to patented technology that nobody else had. You couldn't pick them off the shelves of any store. You couldn't get them from another company. It was exclusive rights to distribute a certain technology that was revolutionizing the world. And I think about that S-curve, and I look at what happened today with Apple, right? The iPhone, I think they called it X. The iPhone X came out today. And 10 years ago, 10 short years ago, it was the first iPhone. When the first iPhone came out, there weren't a bunch of people that were adopting that technology of smartphones, right? It seemed too expensive, and how could this work? And who would want to carry around something that big in their pocket with them all day? Well, we know as it graduated into the later models, the iPhone 2, the iPhone 3, it started to gain a little bit of traction, but it wasn't really until the iPhone 4 that the majority of people, the average person, really started to take on that technology. And since the iPhone 4, almost everybody I know has had some version of the iPhone, or somebody else in their families absolutely had one, and now we're at the iPhone 10. And that's in a 10-year period. I'm telling you, in 10 years from now, what you see with nutrigenomics, what you see with this biohacking revolution is going to absolutely blow you away, because technology has never accelerated faster in any point in time in history. Now, the thing that I didn't understand about network marketing is that when it's done right with the right people and the right products, it's one of the most amazing business models out there. See, I grew up in an environment where you went to school, you got good grades, you went to college, you earned your degree. If you wanted a better paying job, you went on and got a graduate degree, and you kept going to school and acquiring all these different, accolades and certificates from the school. And then you eventually went to a corporation and you became a good employee, right? And that's trading time for money. I showed up 2 weeks later, they gave me a paycheck. I show up another 2 weeks, they give me another paycheck. Well, this is something completely different. And if this business model is not for you, what I challenge you to do, we've got almost not half the year left, but several months left of the year, is to find some way to get residual income into your life, whether this is the vehicle or not. Because here's what happens with residual income. Instead of being paid once for an activity or an action or a service, you're going to get paid over and over and over again for doing the work once. And look on the left-hand column of this income disclosure sheet. This is the distributor through the Pro 10 ranks in the company. So look at Pro 1, Pro 2, Pro 3, and then go over to that third column, the monthly average, where they're earning $79, $261, $580 a month. That's what the average person at each one of these ranks is making. And the cool thing to me, when I spent the last 3 years of my corporate career at Citigroup, I managed that defaulted student loan portfolio that I talked about earlier, and I know that 80% of all bankruptcies in the United States could be avoided with an extra couple $100 a month. Can you imagine if we could get an extra couple $100 into the pockets of the average American, how that would impact them? We're sitting here in September, kids are going back to school, those added expenses. I guarantee you, if it's not you in a financial situation, some of your friends or family are going to bed tonight praying for something to change because they still haven't paid the rent that was due on the 1st, or their mortgage might be coming up on the 15th and they don't know how they're going to get that paid, or they don't know how they're going to make it through the end of the month and still have money left for food. That's the reality of the state that we live in. And then look at those ranks of Pro 4 and Pro 5, $1,000, $2,500 a month. The reality with those is that's truly supplemental income. How many baby boomers do we know that have worked 30, 35 years and they're coming up to retirement, and it's not the same environment it was when they started working, right? When they started working, they were promised that they'd be taken care of in their retirement years, the golden ages of their life. And that isn't the facts anymore. Most people do not have a pension they're walking away with. Most people have not saved enough money to retire the same lifestyle they're accustomed to today. And Social Security definitely does not pay enough for the average person to live the same lifestyle. So what are their choices, right? They either continue to keep working, or they have to they have to live off of less money. If we could roadmap out for them how to make an extra $1,000 or $2,500 a month, that's absolutely amazing. Or the person that maybe is in their 20s or 30s or 40s and they don't take, family vacations because money's tight. If we could show them how to make an extra $2,500 a month, can you imagine the vacations that they would be able to take with that extra income? And then look at Pro 6, Pro 7, almost $6,000, over $11,000 a month. That's full-time. For most Americans, it's replacing their full-time income in their houses. And then 8, 9, and 10, over $20,000, over $40,000, and almost $100,000 a month. And I'm not saying this because the money's, everything about what we're doing. We're here to improve people's lives. And that happens in a multiple different avenues, one of which is on the health side. But I promise you, we've helped just as many people on the financial side as we have the health side. As a society, it's ingrained into us, I think, to really tell our friends and our family what is going on physically with us, what's happening health-wise. But behind closed doors is where we deal with financial matters. And I wouldn't have believed this. If this income disclosure sheet existed when we first started, I probably wouldn't believe that for the investment that you put into this, that you could have a business that pays $20,000 or $40,000 or $100,000 a month. To me, network marketing, it had negative stigma to it. And I thought to Michelle, when we were looking at doing this as a business, that if we were successful network marketers, we'd get a check for $20. We'd go get a bottle of wine and a Redbox movie. But the reality is this. There's a system in place that if you follow and you put your nose down, your head down, and you really do the work, you can have extraordinary lives that most people can't even imagine. We went to the rank of Pro 7 in 12 months. And I'm not saying this to brag about anything that I've done. I'm telling you this because we didn't have prior experience doing it. We followed the system that was in place, and we did it over and over and over until we got the desired results that we wanted and found the people that were like-minded, that wanted to improve other people's health, that wanted to improve other people's finances. So we went to the rank of Pro 7 in 12 months. We hit the rank of Pro 8 in 12 months after that. And 12 months after that, 3 years in, we had 2 positions at the Pro 8 rank. And so I'm telling you, this is possible for anybody, and we have a proven system. Unlike the corporate world, you guys, where I always got paid more money to separate myself from everybody else, in this type of business, we have a financial incentive to help other people have success. Our success is directly tied to helping other people be successful. And if you want to just take the products, that's absolutely amazing. Get back with the person that shared it with us. The coolest thing about that is you pay the same price as a distributor. In some network marketing companies, the only way to get discounted rates is to sign up as a distributor. That isn't us. We want customers to have the same opportunities as distributors getting involved, and I don't want to have to get people involved that don't want to, right? And so if you just see this as a way to improve your health strategy, we can get you the information on how to get started on that. If you're Rolodexing people in your head, though, or you're thinking about what if the information that Mark gave, Dr. Gordon, and what if the information that Sean's telling me about this technology is true and I didn't do anything with it? Or what if this could take me from the situation I'm in today and put me and catapult me into, something completely different that I couldn't have dreamed of a while back? The business side might be for you. If you're Rolodexing people in your head that need to get started on the products and you're going to share that ABC Primetime video with people, the business side is probably for you, okay? The silver pack, $350. The gold pack, $650. The platinum pack's $1,250. I'm going to show you the platinum pack first of all, because that's the pack that if I started over again today, it's absolutely the way I would get started, because it comes with almost $1,800 worth of stuff in the box that you get, and all you get your money back in the product alone that comes in there. So again, like I was saying, when we started, we didn't have a direct desire to build the business, but we knew even even if we didn't get off the starting line, we had our money back in product. And that's what I loved about us getting that pack back when we started. And those savings, you can see it. It's right there. And you get a small sampling of everything that we offer, okay? You can get this into people's bodies, and you can start to build those stories. I promise you this. If I could download into your head all the stories that we've heard over the last 6.5 years, it would be a no-brainer. Everybody would be signing up to do this. But the fact of the matter is some things seem too good to be true. And that's what I was thinking to myself. If this is so good, why doesn't everybody know about it? But then I started to look at the financials, and I started to look at where the company was and why they struggled. It was a great biotech company, but it wasn't a great company that was doing amazing things in the retail environment. This technology was so new and so amazing that it was like trying to explain why a person should have a light bulb when they don't even have electricity in their house. And so the bottles just sat on the shelves of stores like CVS and GNC and Rite Aid. It has a story to be told, and that's why it's so successful in network marketing. And over the course of the past 50 minutes, we've given you a 10,000-foot overview. There's tons more that we could get in depth with you, but get back to the person that invited you if you need more information, you need more knowledge on this, because we can definitely share that that information with you. There's nothing on here that we're going to hide from you. It's everything that we share is always the good, the bad, the ugly, and we want you to know, because we were in the same situation you were in 6.5 years ago, thinking to ourselves, this might be too good to be true, but even if it's half as good as what they're saying, we want it in our bodies. I was very skeptical about the business side, and thank goodness there were people, experts, that talked me through the different financials and why they looked the way that they looked. Dr. Mark Gordon standing up there and talking about the American Heart Association blew my mind away, because the claim that he said back then was the American Heart Association does not publish scam research on snake oil. Okay, and that's true. Who here would argue that the American Heart Association isn't a reputable organization? And so when you do your due diligence, if you're looking more into this, be cognizant of where you're getting the information from, because I'll contend all day long, the American Heart Association is much more reliable than a blogger on the internet. Okay, and we can show you the science. There were 7 studies when we first started. Now there's over 23 published on PubMed.gov, the National Institute of Health, their repository of research. The patents, there used to be 3. Now there's over 6 U.S. patents, several more international patents, and still expanding. They're trying to acquire more patents to protect our right to distribute this technology and not see it show up on the shelves of Walmart or Walgreens anytime soon, like Mark said. And that's why we're so excited about where this is going, right? And we're also making a huge shift. Will you guys not agree with me that over the last 5 years, the business world has changed, and it's never going back to what it used to be for the last century? Brick and mortar stores are going away, and they're absolutely going to disappear. That's a fact, okay? And if you would have told an expert 10 years ago that Radio Shacks would no longer exist, that Walmarts would be shutting hundreds of locations across the United States, people would have said you were crazy. If you would have said that Sears and JCPenney's, institutions that had been around for a decade, or not a decade, I'm sorry, a century, that they would no longer exist in a few years from now, they would say that's absolutely crazy. But that's the reality of the environment that we're in. We're shifting away from this brick and mortar type environment that consumers are going direct to the place to acquire goods and services. And Amazon is the best example of that. If you would have asked people 5 or 6 years ago how many people had shopped online at Amazon over Christmas, you might get a scattering of people. Remember that S-curve that I showed you earlier? That was at the front of that S-curve. That was the early adopters, the innovators, the entrepreneurs, the risk takers, the people that wanted to get there first. I promise you this, in the next couple months, the people that are starting to shop for the holidays, most people will be buying online, and most people will buy at least one thing, if not many things, from Amazon and have it sent to their house. But what is Amazon? Amazon's simply this. It's a bunch of distribution centers that ship products direct from the distribution center to your house, cutting out the brick and mortar environment and cutting out that middleman. And that's exactly what network marketing, that's exactly what LifeVantage does. We're not paying trucks to ship supplies all across across this country to stock shelves at Walmart or GNC or CVS. We're not paying to have that shelf space. We're not paying for that company to bring in the product, right? The commissions are being paid direct to the people that are sharing the information, and that's what's so excited for me. Because I look at it like this: 50 years ago, if you would have asked people about franchises, they would have told you that franchising is not a good way to do business. Who today in this day and age would look at franchising and say that's not a legitimate way to do business? There's absolutely nobody that has business sense that would tell you that franchising doesn't work. And I think that that's where we're going to see this shift over the next decade with network marketing, is more and more quality companies like LifeVantage are going to pop up, and it's attracting quality people. The people that have been in this business with us are people that we want to be friends with and travel the world with and do life with for the remainder of our life. And these are the types of people that we want our kids to grow up around, because they give back, they're philanthropic, they generally they care about other people and the personal development of people. And I would have never expected that out of this business, was the personal development that we've received, the training, and just being a better person in general. And that's what I love about this. And some people, you know, this isn't for you, and that's okay. I'm not asking this to be for everybody, but what I'm telling you is get back with the person that invited you tonight and let them know where you stand. If this isn't exciting to you and you don't see value in the products, let the person know that invited you. Okay. I would ask you that maybe they could keep in contact with you, and maybe every 4 or 5 months, if there's new products or new science or new financials with the company, maybe they could share that information with you down the road. Or if something in your life changes, get back with the person that first introduced this to you and let them know that something changed. If you have questions on what we've talked about tonight, like I said, it was a lot of information real quick. To me, I got excited when I first saw it, and I was ready to jump in and see what it did for me and see how we could build this. But I know that some people have more questions, and they need their questions answered. Ask us what those questions are. Let us know what those questions are so we can help answer them and pinpoint you to the right places, the right resources to acquire the answers to your questions. Because like I said earlier, Google's great for a lot of information. It's not where I would do research from a blogger about something that I was looking to put into my body. Go to where the scientists and researchers and doctors go. Go to a place like PubMed.gov, or ask us for some of that research and we can send you the research. Okay, and then the third category of people are people that are excited to get started right now. People that want to integrate this into their health strategy, either as a consumer or as a distributor. Let the person know that invited you onto the call about that, and we can get you started right now. There's not a better time to join up into network marketing, in my opinion, because we're coming out of that summer year, that summer season. We're coming up into the fall where people are back more into their routines, and they're more apt to listen to information and looking for change in their lives. And I'll tell you this, right? The activity that people are doing now, it's going to pay for itself tenfold come New Year. Because what are people looking for January 1st? It's better health and better finances across the board. And we offer people both. So would it be better to start a business in January, or start to get this in front of people today so that you can plant the seeds and have the opportunity to grow this business up through the new year until we head into next summer? So I'm absolutely passionate about this, you guys, and I hope, if nothing else, you realize why Mark as a cardiologist is so excited about what we have our hands on, why I am as a business owner so excited about what we have our hands on. And if there's any questions that you have, we're here to help you. And again, I want to emphasize, if you want to do this business, you do not do it alone. We have a plan in place. We have a very structured process that we teach you along the way. And all you have to do is get involved, because when I showed you that platinum pack, it does come with all that product. It comes with a ton of marketing materials, but the best thing that it comes with is a whole host of people who have been doing this a long time, that know what they're doing, that you can tap into and help build your business with. Okay, we're here to do it together, and there's a lot of people that have been very successful doing this and know exactly how to help you have success. So with that, I want to thank you for your time, and I do want to make sure that we mention all of our friends and those of you that have families, or you're out in the areas of Texas or Florida, now going into places like Georgia, we're praying for you, and you are on our hearts and our minds constantly. For as bad as everything happened, we were very thankful that it wasn't worse than it was. And you will continue to be in our thoughts and our prayers as we continue to rebuild. And, it showed the solidarity of this nation. We oftentimes look at the negative and we look at how bad of shape everything's in. But I think that these were tremendous examples of how strong we still are as a nation and how strong we are as communities to have each other's back. So with that, we'll have a wrap here tonight. Again, I appreciate your time. I know there's a ton of other things that you could have been doing. Let us know how we can help. We're here to help you. Have a great night. Thanks for being on.